What is going on, Cosmic Crew? Thanks for stopping by the channel. Today we have some news about Spider-Man Brand New Day. Some plot details have been seemingly confirmed, and we're doing a trailer update. We've been hearing nothing but amazing things about this movie. We've seen nothing but amazing things when it comes to this movie, when it comes to all the leaked set photos, and even the official videos that Sony have been putting out themselves. Now, Sony Pictures boss Tom Rothman says that he's seen all the dailies for Spider-Man Brand New Day and thinks it's going to be one of the most surprising and terrific movies in the franchise. Now, when I hear him say surprising, to me it sounds like they think they're going to surprise us with an X-Men appearing in the movie, but for most of us, I think we all already know that Sadie Sink is playing Jean Grey. Of course, that is not confirmed, but that really seems to be who she is playing. And if this plot leak is seemingly confirmed, what it seems like it is, she's playing Jean Grey. Like at this point in time, I feel like it is Spider-Man No Way Home, but instead of the other Spider-Man appearing, it's Jean Grey appearing. So this is what has recently been said about the trailer. We'll start there first because I know everybody's wondering what is going on with the trailer. According to multiple insiders, the trailer is ready to go. They have an alternate version of the trailer, and we talked about what is going to be shown in that trailer earlier this week. Basically, and this was coming from 3C Films, Chris at 3C Films, it's a slightly altered version of the trailer that leaked before, and it doesn't show too much of Sadie Sink. I think that is probably because they are trying to keep her character pretty mysterious. Originally, in the original trailer they had planned, she had dialogue. It doesn't sound like she has too much dialogue in this one, but according to the Beyond reporter, the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer will be released this week. Now, that is not confirmed. It's a report from the insider, but it very well could happen. Like I said, a lot of the insiders say this trailer is done. Sony is kind of just sitting on it right now, and it is kind of up to Sony. Obviously, Marvel has a play in this, but usually when it comes to trailer releases and a lot of the promotion for the Spider-Man movies, it really comes down to Sony's schedule. That's why you typically don't see Spider-Man on the phase slates as well for Marvel Studio or any big announcements at like Comic-Con from Marvel panels. They usually do something themselves, but it's not confirmed, but according to the Beyond reporter, could come this week. I say it could because, you know, we heard that Brand New Day and Doomsday were both coming at the Super Bowl, and obviously they did not. Now, it does sound like Marvel changed their mind for that, and they could very well change their mind about this, but keep an eye out. If we hear any other insiders talk about this or confirm this, we'll definitely be sure to do an update video, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. Now, moving on to an older plot leak that we've heard that honestly seemed pretty dang good. I liked it a lot. It's about Peter basically being a ghost. He spends all of his time as Spider-Man saving the city, and there was a big theme of loneliness and isolation, and it was basically the plot leak that said Spider-Man becomes kind of who Peter Parker is, and he pushes Peter Parker to the side. And because of that, he kind of starts to have problems emotionally and mentally, and his body starts to change because of that. And what we've heard in the new trailer is that Tombstone actually mentions the different phases of spiders. So that definitely seems to be a pretty big theme for Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'll go over this plot leak again in case you haven't heard it, but here's the new report. John Campea, who has a ton of information recently about Avengers Doomsday and now seemingly Spider-Man Brand New Day, and he's been right about some things so far. He states that he has heard about Spider-Man Brand New Day that they are doing in The Fly way, an adaptation of Spider-Man. So a lot of people automatically went back to this old plot leak, which came from an ex-Collider employee, so someone in the industry, and they're basically saying, okay, yeah, it seems like this plot leak is kind of confirmed now to be true, where Peter Parker basically, he's going to grow some limbs. I think that was one of the things that was the only thing that we weren't too sure was confirmed yet. But that is kind of what it's sounding like. So if you haven't heard the plot leak, I'm going to go over it very quickly. If you have, bear with me for just a second. But it's what I just mentioned. Peter basically is pushing Peter to the side and really just choosing to become Spider-Man. We know there's going to be a montage in the beginning of the film with him fighting a bunch of villains and probably a time jump because I don't know how him and MJ could be talking to each other and be possibly neighbors in this if there hasn't been a time jet, because MIT and New York, they're in different places, obviously. So Peter narrates a confession to MJ only to himself and believes that she's better off without him. Same with Ned. So basically, he thinks everyone, including himself, is better off without Peter Parker. So quick montage of Peter beating up mid-villains, Boomerang, Tarantula, Ramrod. This is the montage we talked about. New York City loves Spider-Man except for the DODC, as they view him as something they have to manage. Peter is avoiding his real life, only focusing on Spider-Man. The montage ends with Peter having problems with his powers. The more stressed Peter gets, the more unstable his powers get. Webbing turns organic at times. He gets more aggressive and body starts changing. I just got to say, I think everything that we have heard does point to Peter having organic webbing and his body mutating, essentially. And we've actually heard that the reason Bruce Banner kind of gets involved is because Peter goes to Bruce about this problem. Now, Bruce probably doesn't know who Peter is, but he knows who Spider-Man is, and I think he's going to reveal his identity to him and say, hey, you don't really know Peter, but I'm an Avenger. I fought with you all in Endgame, and, Tony was very close to me. I loved him, etc., etc. So Sadie Sink plays Jean Grey, who's on the run because the DODC believes she's an unregistered mutant with uncontrolled power. Jean's goal is to stay free and expose the DODC. And as we saw in Wonder Man, they're doing some shady stuff. So this makes sense. Jean sees Spider-Man as reckless. Whenever he appears, the situation gets worse. I probably would agree with that based on what we know. She suspects the DODC will connect her to Spider-Man and use that as an excuse to hunt her. Punisher protects Jean because they work together. I'm very curious to see how this all works out. Tombstone essentially is the big bad. He wants the city unstable because he profits when the streets are scared. Tombstone bankrolls the Hand, the evil organization of ninjas, to hit the DODC and free Scorpion. Yeah, we've basically seen that on the trailer that was leaked. The Hand is there. They're a bunch of ninjas. The DODC is transporting Matt Gargan to a more secure location. The Hand attacks the convoy, and Spider-Man comes to help and fend them off. Punisher helps as well, but they basically get Gargan out of prison. So after this, the Hand storms the prison to release more prisoners, and this is where Spider-Man kind of has a big fight scene. Spidey is starting to have problems with his powers again, but the Punisher saves him. I like that a lot. I like the Punisher saving him. After the prison chaos, Peter's body isn't acting normal. Banner is the only person who can help. Peter's body forces a metamorphosis and ends up in a web cocoon. Peter's emotions are causing this. Organic webbing occurs. More feral and extra limbs come and go. So this is very interesting. This is one thing that I think is still kind of up in the air, the extra limbs part. Yes, it does seem like his body's going to be changing. It seems like that's going to be a pretty big theme in this movie. And since John Campea says that they're going to kind of do The Fly with this movie, yeah, that lines up. And pretty much all of this lines up with the trailer description that Chris has told us from 3C, and it also lines up with the previous trailer. In fact, in the original trailer they planned to release, it definitely looked like Peter was in a cocoon at some point in time, and he gets out of it, and everybody has been saying this, he looks absolutely jacked. In which, yeah, I'm sure Tom Holland really got in great shape to play this. So yeah, basically it comes down to, Peter fighting Matt Gargan and Tombstone and Punisher, and everybody kind of jump in together. But ultimately, Peter becomes unstable and Banner ends up losing control as well because Banner is under stress and he taps into a new personality called the Grey Hulk, which is what we've heard from several insiders at this point in time. Basically, stress and emotion and turmoil are what is causing pain for Spider-Man and Bruce Banner. The Punisher shows up in a tank to try and fight and save Banner. Spider-Man joins and attempts to help Banner, and Jean returns and calms Banner, bringing him to normal, which I'm assuming she does that with her telepathic powers. When Banner is back to normal, Peter's stress is maxed out and reaches a breaking point, causing him to become Man-Spider. That's something we've heard a lot as well. Man-Spider loses all human features, fights them. Jean anchors Peter mentally and helps Peter realize that he can't only be Spider-Man, but the human side is just as important. They all eventually go their own way. Jean is supposed to show up again in Avengers Secret Wars, in which we do know Sadie Sink's character is showing up. That's been confirmed. But finally, Peter finds MJ and her boyfriend. He tells her everything that happened from No Way Home. Peter understands he just can't be Spider-Man, but Peter Parker is just as important too. It appears to. That's what it says. And the post-credit scene could be the symbiote. I would be surprised if the symbiote wasn't at least mentioned in the film or shown. Maybe we do get it in that post-credit scene. But also maybe it's going to be about Secret Wars or Avengers Doomsday, because I feel like if they don't address in this movie why Peter is not going to be in Avengers Doomsday, it's going to be a little interesting. Maybe they address it in Avengers Doomsday. So if that's the case, then yeah, maybe we could be getting a post-credit about the symbiote. I just hope they actually make it happen this time instead of just teasing us with it, teasing a crossover with Tom Hardy's Venom and Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, and nothing happens. So I hope that doesn't happen. But looks like this plot leak is pretty accurate. I wouldn't say that it's 100% accurate, but most of it does seem pretty accurate. Now we have another insider, John Campea, saying that, yeah, this is what he heard they're going to do with it. And a lot of talk about it right now because this honestly sounds amazing to me. But go ahead and let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. If this is what we're getting for Spider-Man Brand New Day, will you like it? Let me know. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest Spider-Man videos. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.